practitioners with over 30 years of domestic and international experience. I would like to introduce you to today's instructor, R.C. Caldwell, Principal Consultant and Certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. R.C. has over 30 years of management, engineering, and manufacturing experience from Johnson & Johnson, General Motors, Goodrich Aerospace, Cintas, and Sinclair Community College in the United States, Europe, Mexico, Canada, and China. He led the Global Partner Development Supplier Excellence Group that resolves critical quality and capacity problems at strategic suppliers while saving Johnson & Johnson $27 million per year. At this time, I'd like to welcome everyone again. I would encourage you, if you have questions at any time during the series, you can unmute your line and ask your question, or you can type it in the chat box. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Danielle, for the introduction. Today, we're going to talk about Safe Lean Six Sigma White Belt training, and it's a virtual interactive workshop, and we would like for you to participate along the way. So there's going to be a few exercises, and today is Friday, so happy Friday for everybody, and I hope you are smiling about that, because that's a good thing. So what we're going to talk about today, first, we're going to go over the definition of Lean, Six Sigma, and operational excellence. Hopefully you had opportunity to look over the video and to go through the video, because that gives you more details about Lean, Six Sigma, and operational excellence. We're going to just give the definition here, so we're not going to go over all that detail. So if you didn't see it, go back and take a look at the video. It'll give you more in-depth knowledge. Then we're going to go to basic building blocks to a operational excellence culture. And then we're going to talk about the DMAIC process: design, measure, improve, analyze, and control in the Lean Six Sigma tools. And we're going to talk about built-in quality, which is important for operational excellence culture. Then we're going to talk about the basic concepts used in operational excellence. And then we're going to look at CDC 5S, health and safety, which is very, very important, especially now with COVID-19. And we're going to look at principle of flow. If you've never seen and you've thought about batching versus one-piece flow, got a nice simulation. Stick around for that. That's worth looking at. And then we're going to talk about Kaizen, and Kaizen equals continuous improvement. Now, it's very important that you ask questions and participate and, you know, have fun. And that way you can learn more. So we're going to talk about the definitions. You've probably seen this in the video, but I'm going to go over it real quick. Lean, beginning with design, then extending into the factory and ending with the customer. Lean is the process of removing waste from all aspects of the business enterprise, okay? So it takes everybody, and that's what makes it a culture. Whereas Six Sigma is a set of statistical techniques and tools for improving the process to manufacture or provide service at a first-time yield quality level of 99.9966. And the best way to remember that, an easy way to remember that, is 3 parts per million, okay? If you're manufacturing something and you're only making 100,000, so for 30 years, you should not have a problem, okay? None but 3 parts. So that's the easiest way to remember that. Lean and Six Sigma, when you combine them, Lean Six Sigma is the methodology utilizing Lean and Six Sigma that relies on a collaborative team effort to improve performance by systematically removing waste and reducing variation in all aspect of the business. And that's essentially supports operational excellence. And here's operational excellence definition. Operational excellence is the execution of the business strategy more consistently and reliable than the competition. So basically what that's saying, if you have the same strategy as your competition, you should outperform them if you're operational excellent on a level of world class, basically, because we're in a global market. So let's talk about building the building blocks to operational excellence. First, we start with the Shingo Prize. Sure, we're part of the Shingo Institute. The Shingo Prize is the home of the Shingo Institute. The prize is a worldwide, the highest standard for organizational excellence. It's based out of Utah State University. And it's been, since it started, it's been given out globally, all over the world and every continent. So, you know, this is a global, proven, actual prize, okay? And it's time tested. It started in 1989, and we're still having recipients up to 2020. So it's time tested. Where I got my experience, just so you'll know that I'm not teaching you something that I did not actually do, but I actually lived this. This is not based on out of the book. This is based on when I worked at Johnson & Johnson. I was privileged to have a global team that also did projects in every one of these plants, including myself, and contribute to, you know, 3 plants out of all the Johnson & Johnson plants won the Shingo Award and the Shingo Prize. And every one of Johnson & Johnson plant did operational excellence. Some chose not to go after the prize, so all of them didn't have to go after them, but these 3 did decide to go after it and do it, and they won. So I like to stop and see if I have a volunteer to just kind of read this quote that's off to the left. Would somebody come off mute and contribute?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing of real importance that leaders do is to create and manage culture. If you do not manage culture, it manages you. And you may not even be aware of the extent to which this is happening. Quote by Edgar Schein.
Excellent. Excellent. Now just think about that. You know, what it's saying is, as leaders, you got to focus on that culture, okay? And it's key, because if you don't, then something else is going to happen. And this is really, really a critical time to focus on culture with the coronavirus and this pandemic throughout the world. So this impacts everybody because culture is changing. So that's why the Shingo model has culture in the middle. All right. And these are the 5 factors or sectors of any organization, even nonprofit. Because if you look at this, most people say companies are started to make profit. Well, there's nonprofit organizations too. That's why this model fits all. Because in order to make profit, you got to have results, okay? And your results are going to be impacted by what type of culture you have. You know, generally, if you have a negative culture, eventually it's going to catch up with these results, all right? Principle is important. Your guiding principles are extremely important. System, the type of system you have, all these impact culture, okay, which drive, and they all drive this behavior, okay? And then tools, the type of tools you have, You need world-class. If you want high performance, you need high performance tools, okay? And you have a system, you need a high performance system. Okay, so we're gonna walk through this. And we're gonna use J&J Credo to do it. Okay, now this is a busy slide. You don't have to read this, and I don't want you to do that. I'm just gonna take one sentence, but a lot of these sentences can be associated with the model. But I'm gonna take this one right here, where it's customers' orders must be served promptly and accurately. And I'm gonna show you how this model is set up. First, they have these dimensions. So, and we're gonna start with the guiding principle, because that's where you should start. The guiding principles are broken up into 3 dimensions. First one is enterprise alignment, which is the purpose. Then there's continuous improvement, which is the process. And culture enabler is the people. So from there, let's go back to the J&J. There's 10 principles, okay? There's 10 principles. We're gonna focus on just one and walk through it. The one that says, create value for the customer, which lines up with this J&J's credo of customer orders must be served promptly, okay? Now, Johnson & Johnson, the credo was, our guiding principles. And when I was there, and I still say I'm not there anymore. That's how much it was ingrained in us. So we live towards it. And I'm gonna give you an example as we walk through this model. This actually happened. We got a complaint from a nurse that was doing an orthopedic surgery. And in that surgery, they opened up our product and they only had 3 bolts. And they needed 4 for this particular application. So our system was lined up so well that we were able to call that a credo problem. And we were able to drive back to the system and find out that we had a supplier that actually packaged that in Switzerland, all right? So when we got back there, we found out that helped drive our culture, and it drove their culture, because they had to come to our guiding principle, our credo, so we can make sure we had the right results to delight our customer. So what we got is affirmation that not only was this problem was a problem at this particular operation, but we had a series of other ones. So we had to come up with a way to continuously improve it. All right. So in order to do that, we had to use some tools. So we use operational excellence, Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma tools to determine where the problem, what type of problem it was, what we needed to do to resolve it, and come up with the best solution to resolve it from a root cause perspective, so it wouldn't happen again. So we use things like airproofing, visual systems. So we had to really dig hard, and that was enabled us to improve our system. So now we're driving it back, and we're checking the data and the results to see if we had any more complaints. So we made sure that it was lined up with our KPIs. Okay, and I'll show you that a little later, exactly how it was done. And that way we could refine it till we eliminated the problem. And that's how the model is used. And that's how it's linked. Now, next, what I want to show you is operational excellence. One component is design, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And these are phases. Right now, you're taking a white belt class, but if you were a green belt and black belt, these are the phases that you would go through in doing a project. These are the phases that we went through to solve that problem, so we would never again have 3 bolts instead of 4, okay? So we made sure by doing these type of analysis and using these tools, and this is a busy chart. I don't want you to read these. I just want you to just kind of see all the tools that are available that's going to be available to you as you move up and get your green belt and black belt, okay? And this is what makes the person a problem-solving type person to help companies. Now, let's take a look at traditional organizations. Traditional organizations have 3 levels. They have the executive team, which is CEO, vice president, chairman of the board, etc. And then you have the management, middle management, okay, the management team. And they're made up of directors and managers, depending on how big the organization is. And then you have team members that are supervisor and frontline employees. But in an excellent, operational excellent environment and culture, you have some of those people have like what you're trying to get as a white belt. So you could be knowledgeable of how to solve problems and look at things differently. And then you have your yellow belt, and they have a little higher level and a little bit more tools sets to solve problems. Okay, so now you're training your people to be problem solvers. So the difference is you get a green belt, that's even higher. Okay, so if you were in this traditional organization, you didn't have these people that's learning this knowledge and making your environment better. So then you have the black belt, that's even higher, and they do really they can do enterprise type projects, where the green belt and white belts and yellow belt do lower. And a lot of times the black belt helps the green belt. So that way you get some mentoring effect out of this. So the black belt, the green belts mentor yellow belts and white belts, black belts mentor them all. And then in some organization, like in Johnson & Johnson, we have master black belts, and the master black belts mentor all these. And sometimes all the time, master black belts help each other. Okay, and then you have your champion. Now the champions are people that make sure, and we'll go through that in detail. The champion is the one that champions and sponsors the project. Okay, so the biggest thing a champion does is remove barriers. All right, and it provides coaching and approve changes and make sure the direction and make sure the alignment of the business goals. Now let me stop here, ask if there's any questions. You can unmute your line or you can type it to Danielle. Okay, well, we'll continue on. Now, white belt. Now this is what you should come out of this class, and there's an exam at the end if you decide to get certified. You should understand the 8 ways, okay? And you should definitely understand how to sustain improvements, okay? So when a project is implemented that's affecting your area, and if it made it better, because it should make it better, that's the key. It should make it easier and better. And then you could be the one to advocate it and also support it, all right? And then you should understand built-in quality. We're going to go over that, and the continuous improvement environment, and the importance of the 5S in the workplace and to maintain it. The voice of the customer, we're going to go through that in detail. And then you should be able to apply some lean concepts when you come out of here. So ask questions, engage, let me know if I'm not communicating with you. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure you learn this, because I think it's valuable to, not only your company, but to you. So let's look at how this works in a company. All right, so I got this made up company, ABC, and it's a Lean Six Sigma company, and they got Lean Six Sigma team. So one of the sales that they have is an aluminum cylindrical stopper sale. Okay, and here's the parts in purple. And they got 3 people in that sale, and one of them is a white belt. Okay, so the sale keep track of the daily problems. They work on daily problems as a team. So this white belt is important because they understand they can help the other team members, okay? And they sustain that 5S, which we're gonna go through. Another role the white belt is support of black belt project. So the black belt has a project that she's working on, and she needs a team member, an expert that's down there, that's actually in the team to provide input. And that's what white belts do. So most of black belts and green belts are going to pick people that know because they can talk the same language. So that's how it works. So if they're doing a value stream project that goes from dock to dock or all the way out to their supplier, the white belt is going to get knowledge from that. It's going to work on this black belt project, and that's going to make it flow a lot better. The same thing if they had a green belt project, okay, and it was a different sale, and they had a green belt and yellow belt, okay, they can take the yellow belt and the white belt just play on the front line role. So that's how it works. All right, any questions? Okay. And then you have your sponsor. Both of these projects were going to be sponsored by a person like a vice president or maybe a plant manager or director. And the reason why you want to sponsor is because if someone in this pipeline, you're making improvements and someone's saying we can't do that for some reason, you want to make sure that you have a high enough person that can remove those roadblocks, okay? Plus, if you need some type of interface with another department, and so you need someone to be able to pull that other department in and make sure that they cooperate fully, okay? And you need to make sure you're working on the right project. That's another thing the sponsor does that's in line with the corporation or the company. Now, may I have another volunteer, because this is an important slide. If someone else would step up and just kind of read the slide. I know you may be eating lunch. It's okay if you are eating lunch, I understand.
I can read it.
Okay.
What is a customer? A customer is the purpose of our work, the source of our success, the person we must satisfy, the ultimate judge of our quality, the most important person in our business.
Now that is in line with the Shingo principle of create value for the customer. And the biggest thing from that is the most important person in our business. And some people don't realize that. They think the stockholders are. But the most important person is actually your customer. I'll give you an example. I was consulting with a company last year before the coronavirus hit. And I've been with them 2 years. When I first got with them, I said, are you surveying your customers? And they told me no. They told me, no, we don't really have to because we meet with them frequently and we talk to them and they tell us we're doing great, okay? So at the beginning of this year, they lost that customer. That customer was 80% of their business. So they had to lay off about 200 people. And the thing of it is what this means is people will tell you, business people, especially in business, they will tell you things differently than what they would write down if you put in a survey. In addition to that, you got to make sure that you get the data from the right people, okay, in the organization. So I'm not sure if they were talking to the right people. I know they didn't have data. And this is very, very important, okay? Because this is what people sometimes lose sight of. So the voice of the customer, you always want it. It should be your main key performance indicator, okay? And let's talk about this and what it looks like. What's the voice of the customer look like? Okay, now, say if you're manufacturing back here, the old original equipment manufacturer, the OEM, all right? So your ultimate customer, and you got a product, is the consumer, okay? And I'll use J&J again as example. We made minimal invasive equipment for medical devices. We also make consumer products, which everybody knows about. So we would have products out here that impact all these consumers, okay? Hospitals, people in house. So those consumers are the ones we wanted the information from, okay? Even the people that's buying it at the store, and ultimately who buys it from there. We want that input, okay? So those are your ultimate customers. You want to stay focused on your ultimate customer. Even if you're a supplier, we used to take data from our suppliers and let them know how we were doing out here in the consumer market and out here in the medical market, okay? So you want to make sure everybody in this supply chain knows what's going on, all right? Then you have what they call external customers. Like in J&J, we had distributors. So they were like our external customers, okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Danielle?
Yes.
All right. So you got your external customer, and this would be like I said, this could be Amazon or a distributor, all right? So you got to please them too. Now, when you're in the factory, all right, say this is process A, B, and C. If I'm working on process A, I have internal customers. I got to make sure the product is good for B and C, all right? And then all the way out to my ultimate customer. And then those are your internal customers, okay? So if you hear that term, you'll hear that sometime. The most important, ultimate customers, all right? Here's an example of a company, that it's a Toyota example. One of the things that they said here is we will never reach 100% customer satisfaction, but must never stop trying, okay? And this was back in 2012. So if you look at their 2019 data from JD Powers, they still are trying to keep their customers happy and make. JD Power is a data based on input from the actual vehicle owner, you know, and that's what makes it close to getting it right from the customer's mouth. Okay, that's why it's a good one. That's what you want to do. Now here's the performance indicators, KPIs, key performance indicators, and it's voice of the customer. That's what you got to do it. Now you notice the first priority is the health and safety of your people. That's very, very important. That's more important than the customer data, because if your workforce, of respect for your workforce, which is one of the principles of the Shingo model too. See, all this kind of relates back to the model, okay? And it's very, very important to understand that, because it keeps you on a continuous, it's a continuous model and a continuous improvement. Then the Six Sigma quality goes, if you remember the definition of Six Sigma, if we make 1 million parts, we only have 3 bad, all right? So that's what you want, the first time quality from your customer, on-time delivery, all right? Now you want to do that, and I'll show you that a little bit more in market growth and productivity. Now, some of you work in some excellent places, and you probably see a graph that's similar to this, but this is what you would see in an operational excellent companies that's got alignment. In their plant, they will have this type of data showing how they're performing. Now the red is not bad, because what the red says is we got opportunities for improvement. Sometimes when it's all green, that means you're not reaching. Okay, you're not reaching. So especially when you're trying to climb to excellence, all right? It's just like you probably seen some very good basketball teams or football teams or baseball teams or whatever sport you like. They are 10-0 and they just beat a team 40-0. And the coach says, we got a lot to improve. All right. That's the type of things you got to have in your plant. You got to be wanting to reach out there. All right. So let's look at these KPIs again. KPIs, you got safety. And in this case, you notice in this example, we got safety recordables, OSHA recordables per year. We also have the days without our OSHA recordable. Also, we're recording the days without a COVID-19 case. So if your workforce, if you created a bubble in your plant and your workforce has created movable bubbles so they can still be safe, then you got to keep track of that and also applaud them, because that's, we all working in the same and living in the same environments, and we know that is difficult to do. That is difficult to do because you don't know where it's coming from. So that's a good measurement to have now. Then quality. You want first-time quality from your customer, all right? And then you want to also look at first-time quality in your plant. Because if your plant is having problems, then definitely it's getting out to your customer, okay? More than likely, one or two of them are going to get out there to them, okay? So what you want to do is make sure that, number one, you're getting the information back in data. This is what I was talking about, data from your customer, all right? And then delivery, all right? What we had at Johnson & Johnson, what I put up here is similar to that, is on that PO, a line item fill rate. So based on their purchase order, every line that they asked for, we had to make sure we filled it, and we filled it on time based on what they wanted, okay? So that's important to do it the right way. Then keep track of your market share, and also keep track of your 5S and how you're doing in your plant and keeping it clean. So we're gonna stop there. Any questions or comments or anything you want to discuss in detail? Danielle, you get any chat questions?
Nope, I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, now we're going to go to built-in quality. All right, first one is called Jidoka. It's a Japanese word, and all it means is don't pass on poor quality. That is more of a attitude thing. All right, and some companies, a lot of automotive companies, put in and-on system. I've actually seen this when I was at J&J. There was a lot of plants we had and-on systems. Our suppliers even had some and-ons. What that is it's a visual and audio, okay, indicator when there's a problem when you're producing or providing a part, okay? So as the worker is working, if they run into a problem that they can't resolve, they'll hit the and-on, and then they'll get support from the team to try to figure out what to do. That's what and-on. That's so you don't pass on bad quality. Then there's air proofing. I told you about this before. It's one of the techniques that we put in place at the Switzerland plant, that supplier. But what you want to do is you want, where you had mistakes before, you want to put in a system that avoid that mistake, okay? And then statistical process control. And then quality must be corrected first before you apply lean. That is so important. Because if you think about it, if you lean something out, and I've seen this actually done in a plant, where they leaned out their process, but they never fixed their quality. So what happens when you do that is you make junk faster. So you actually start making bad parts faster. And I actually seen that happen. So you don't want to do that. You never want to lean out until you fix the quality. So it's very, very important. Quality first, lean out second. And then the 5 why. The 5 why leads to 1 how, okay? It gets to the root cause to solve the problem, okay? So let me show you how that works. Here's a 5 why analysis that I got right off Google, okay? The problem, ran through a red light. Why? Late for work. Why? Woke up late. Why? Alarm clock broke. Why? Didn't check it. Why? Forgot to do it last night. Now you get down to the bottom line, okay? And that's how you got to look at problems. 5 why. Remember that. A lot of American companies are always ask for who done it first. What you got to do is you got to, and great companies, all right, great companies, you want to ask for why 5 times, okay? Now, another built-in quality I told you before is 6 Sigma. Very, very important. All it means is if we make 1 million parts, and if we don't make 1 million parts, we can't have any quality problem the whole year if we want to be performing on a 6 Sigma level. So here's an example here. It's this shirt. I use that in that video. If you got a 97% first time quality, and that's a 3% defect, over 1 million, that's 30,000 shirts. Okay, so just think if you were making PPE, you know, and making masks. And right now, PPE is very, very important, okay? And if you were doing 3%, 97%, the manufacturer of masks, man, 30,000 masks wasted, which is very critical. So, you know, that's the level that we're in, especially now, because you never know when the supply chain may be disrupted because a plant has to close because they have an outbreak of COVID-19. So it's very, very important, even if you're not making 1 million parts, to make sure that all the parts that come in and all the supplies that come in is utilized. So I'm going to stop again and ask, is there any questions or comments? Anybody want to add? Okay, if not, we'll go through the basic concepts that are used in operational excellent culture. One of the basic concepts, which is rooted from Lean, is identifying and eliminating waste. And there's 8 different ways. One of them is unnecessary motion. The next one is waiting. Then excessive inventory, transportation waste, defects waste, over-processing waste, overproduction, and last, talent waste. All these lead to missed business opportunities. Unnecessary waste movement is when you have a poor layout or the work arrangement is wrong. If you look at this picture up here in the right-hand corner, this guy is having a hard time. Both of them are screwing down. That vehicle should even be higher if they want them to be under there. Okay, it causes fatigue. And it also, from a financial, it can hurt you on your insurance claims, right? Higher insurance claims. Then waiting. Anytime you're waiting, you see this guy here waiting in the cockpit. That's that opportunity to improve that process. Opportunity, big lot size, waste of manpower, excessive inventory. You know, you got excessive speculation. You have planners that'll say, okay, I think the demand say we needed 10,000 parts. Let's order 10,500, all right? And then you get a buyer say, okay, that's 10,500. The planners say, I'm gonna put another 500 on there because I know we might mess up. So that's 10,000, 1,000. And then, that's how that number grows. So excessive inventory. And then you're stuck with it if it don't sell. I've seen that. I've seen warehouses of obsolete material. Then transportation waste. You got poor layouts, and now you got to move products from building to building. We started in building 1, and then we transferred to building 2, and then it goes back to building 1, and then we ship it out. Okay, that's what we're talking about there. And defects. Defects is really bad. You just, that's one of those things that you really want to, because that's directly related to your product. Okay. And then over processing, not understanding the voice of the customer, using improper fixtures, over specifying or insignificant standards. Okay. And then overproduction. This is probably the second most, in that scenario. I was saying producing more. When you produce more, what happens is you have to move it more. You have to store it more. You got to have overstaffing because now that we got so many parts, somebody's got to move it into this warehouse. Okay. So, and then the chances of things getting damaged. So, but the most evil one is the waste of the manpower and talent and not using people input. Okay. The best Lean Six Sigma system in the world will not work without the support of the process owners. That's very, very important. So as you learn this Lean Six Sigma, as you move up and you get your green belt and your black belt, you want to always use your process owners, okay? Because they'll give you some valuable information and sometimes some very good ideas, all right? A lot of cases, they got great ideas.
RC, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I have a question here. If you could, can you speak on the application of Lean Six Sigma to nonprofits, like schools, government offices, military?
Oh, yeah. That's an excellent question. Excellent question. Because see, what you're trying to do really in those type of environment is make the job easier. Okay. So if you're in that type of environment, what you would like to do is, if you want to help the teachers and they're doing an activity, and it's to work with them, number one, and the administrators. There may be paperwork stuff that you can help them out with and make it easier. Because in this, that's what I think is the future is digital, how we can make this digital world work in our favor to make our job easier. In some cases, let me give some other examples. Teachers, you can help out in the enrollment process. There's things there that you can look at. There's anywhere where there's transactional opportunities. The actual teaching, you won't be able to impact because that's knowledge based, but any of the transactional stuff would be a great place to look at. And you got to ask them where their problem is, where their pain. What I usually do in those type of situations is to ask the people in the organization, where's the worst problem that you have, okay? And then you look at that and see where there's opportunity to apply some of the lean tools. I hope that answered the question. And if you could chat with Dee Dee to say if it does or if it doesn't, please let me know. And we can also, you can call me. My number will be provided at the end, my email. Those are great questions. I like those. So please get back in touch with me if I didn't answer. Okay, the workshop example I want you to do is, I want you to think about what we just talked about. Think of 3 areas. I'm gonna give you just a quick minute to think of 3 areas in your current job or a job that you used to work at where you can see one of these wastes and give us just an example of them? I'll just give you a minute to. Now, the person that answered that, while I'm giving you this minute, the person that answered that question, I hope I answered your question. If not, please get in touch with me later. Okay, it's about 40 seconds since I asked you. So I'm gonna give you a couple of more seconds, 15. Now write them down and send them to Danielle, or you can actually go off mute. And if you want to share them with everybody else, I appreciate it. You can do one or two things. You can get off mute and verbally tell us, or you can chat with Danielle.
I would like to mention something.
Yes, please.
I am not sure where this fits on the 8 wastes. Maybe under unnecessary motion, I'm not sure, but the issue would be time spent on unsuccessful marketing. Is that something that's too knowledge-based to fit
No,
into
that's
the- Okay.
that is a form of waste. It's probably unnecessary motion. You hit it on the head. So that's when you keeping track of, because I had this problem too as my company, keep track of what you did and what's successful and what's not. And then as you continue down this path, because that's the way I'm doing it. So I'm speaking from living it.
Okay.
The things that is not successful, you get rid of. Okay, but you got to have that data for you to let you know. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent question. It is unnecessary motion though. Anybody else? That's a good one. Non-traditional lean. I love it. Well, if you want to share, you can. If you don't, that's okay too. But that was excellent. I really like that one. Okay, now we're going to go to CDC health and safety for COVID-19, because this is the world we're living in, and it's very important for your culture. Number one, the team leaders should be providing this already. The guidance for testing for COVID, where you should get tested, the company should be paying for it. Especially if you're an excellent company, you should be doing it that way. You should install a method for tracing, okay, like the NBA and the NFL. Now the NBA, I watched that because it was like an experiment. It was like a scientific experiment. They actually set up a bubble and they had no COVID case. And I won't tell you all the stuff they did, but one of the things they did is they had these safety tags, these safe zone tags. And what these tags are used for, and if anybody came within 6 feet of each other, they were recorded. And the NFL is using them too. So that's pretty cool. All companies can't probably afford that. Maybe they can, but when they put that out there. Another way to do it is to put in cameras. Make sure you let everybody know that it's not for Big Brother purposes, but it's for contact tracing. And that way you have data to say who was in contact with one employee. Hopefully not, but if somebody gets COVID, okay? And then Samsung has these watches that vibrate. Google and Apple are trying to come up with one. I'm not sure if they got it yet, but there's other things you can use, but those are the three primarily. Then the leadership should provide continuous airflow in the office and plant, purification and filters, qualified filters and purification systems. Masks and other PPE is very, very important. Then establish a temperature screening team, should already be established, okay? So some of these things should be in place. And especially now we're going through flu season and COVID. So you know, in cases where you should have a nurse or a contract nurse or somebody that's had that type of ability, just to make sure that, because at some point you got to determine what's the difference between a cold, someone having just a flu, or someone that's just having allergies. Okay, so all that needs to be in consideration now in your screening process. You must train, you must have a standardized way of doing it. You must wear the appropriate PPE, okay? So that's very important. Face masks should be provided at the front of the entry. So, and then there need to be a process of how people go, if you suspected of having it, how you go home, how you come back in, and it should be a daily screening. Then you need to determine, the CDC has a fever at 100.4 Fahrenheit. You know, you got to determine what yours is going to be. Some people go a little lower. Some people may say that's just right on. And then you need the right instrument to do it quickly. And I would recommend strategic staggered start times and end time. Okay. And because that's the most, I mean, coming in and especially going out of the building, and if you have a plant that have more than 100 people at one time, that could be, and everybody leaving at the same time, that could if there is someone do have it, that's just creating that atmosphere to spread it. So if you stagger it, and I'm going to give you what I mean by this strategic staggered start time. So this is a simulation, and the first shift starts at 7 o'clock. So as you can see, the clock is 6:59. Nobody's in work. We have a press operation that has a cycle time of 5. Assembly operation have a cycle time of 5. So it's a balanced line. This is assembly, so it's all balanced. We got pack operation that's 5. Okay. So if you're lucky to have assembly plant, you have something like this. What you could do is start the downstream operators first, or team. And in this example, we got one worker. They come in, they CDC, 5S, and shine, and then they start producing parts. Okay, so at 7:06, they move the first part to the assembly operation. So they feeding the line before the next operator gets there. So at 7:07, they still working there, and then at 7:10, the next group come in. In this particular simulation, we have one. So the operator comes in, CDC clean and shine the assembly area. And that way you'll keep it productive. So you do the same thing, 7:16, feeding the pack line. And then at 7:20, the third operator come in. So that way your pipeline will stay filled. Now, if you don't have this at the end of the day, you do the same thing. All right, you start with the press operator, and then the shift ends at 3. So at 2:50, the first operator start cleaning and shining, and then the first operator leaves at the press, and then assembly operator at 3 o'clock starts shining, and then they leave at 3:10. And then at 3:10, the packing operator starts shining, and then they leave. Now, if you don't have an assembly line and you have all different value streams, pick your bottleneck operation, bring them in first, and then anybody in the downstream, bring them in next, and then the upstream comes in last. That's how that's done when you don't have a balance line, okay? So CDC 5S, visual workplace to support your culture. Okay, what is CDC 5S? CDC 5S creates a culture foundation for a safe workplace for COVID-19, okay? And the 5S support a safe workplace. It's been recognized by the National Safety Council that 5S companies that implement 5S reduce their accidents on the shop floor. So it helps you from a health and safety perspective, okay? Especially a safety perspective. And safety, even though it's not one of the 5S, it is important. It's more important than the other 5S, okay? So, and you're gonna learn what those 5S is. I haven't told you yet. So 5S visual workplace is a self-sustaining culture which preserve a neat, clean, and effective workplace. Okay, that's what we're trying to achieve. Over to the right, not the left. Here's what 5S is. First, there's sort. When in doubt, throw it out. You don't want anything in the workplace that doesn't necessarily need to be there. Then you want to set things in order. A place for everything and everything in its place. And then shine. You want to clean, and shine means quality. A clean work environment is going to yield, in most cases, good quality product. All right. And then you want to standardize. Whatever you come up with, once you start setting in order and you shine it, you want it to be done the best way and the easiest way possible. And then you want to standardize it. And then you want to sustain it. So stick to it. Okay, I'm going to stop for a minute and ask any questions, comments. I know some of you may be still eating lunch. Go ahead, enjoy your lunch. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. And you know, if you want to, we can take a 5-minute break. All right, it is 12:59. Let's everybody come back. Let's give you at 5 minutes. Let's give you 10 minutes. That'll be probably better. That way we can take a bio. So come back at 1:10, and we'll get started at that time. So take a 10-minute break. Danielle, can you hear me? Danielle.
Yes, I can,
Okay,
RC.
great. Excellent. Okay, it's 10 after, and we're going to get back started. Okay, now 5S, the definition and the sequence. If you don't practice 5S now, this is how you would start out. Start off with sort, separate and eliminate it, all unwanted items. Then you would set in order. You would make sure everything had a place, you know, and everything in its place. Then shine. You have to make sure that you clean it and clean it to the degree where CDC clean, okay? And we're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna give you what that means. And then you standardize your approach. So no matter if you have 3-shift operation or 1-shift operation, it's done the same way, okay? And you want to sustain it. So you want your team to monitor themselves and have a member monitor yourself. And this is always a good role for a white belt, okay? And to encourage everybody to participate, but it takes everybody. This is a team effort. So sort, we make sure items are moved out that don't need to be there. You organize things to make the job easier for things to be retrieved and put away, okay? Here's a couple examples of things that you should get rid of, like broken jigs, broken dies, worn out bits, old rags, okay? Outdated posters, signs, that type of thing. And here's an example of someone actually sorting out their toolbox, okay? All right, so, you know, you want to even sort out the toolbox. And in order to get rid of stuff, sometimes you got to red tag it because you got a fixture there that's been out there in production for so long. You want to put a red tag on there so you can get rid of it. Okay, and first you want to go through and red tag some of them, because sometimes you can't get rid of it right away. So, you know, in trash, just throw trash out. And you keep a red tag log, when it's supposed to be taken on target date for getting rid of it. So these are primarily for really big plants or medium-sized plants or small plants that have big items. And here's an example of red tags being used on getting rid of some ladders and some other things that doesn't need to be in the workplace. And set in order. A place for everything and everything in its place. It's just being orderly, okay? And here's an example. This is before disordered workplace. It's, you know, they function in it, but here it is afterwards, that same workplace. Now you got things in order, it's cleaner, more productive, you know, big difference between the two. Here's before and after of a WIP storage area, in-process WIP. So here's that same, now it's FIFO. So you got first in, first out. So it's in order and it's gravity fed. So it's a better system than this, which makes it easier. All right. That's what you want to do. That's lean. Anytime you make an improvement, it should be easier. If it's not, then you're not going lean. You're not doing Lean Six Sigma, okay? You're doing something else. Shine. You want to remove the dirt, grime, and dust from the area. You want to keep your, if it's machines, your work area clean, okay? And here's what we were talking about, CDC. You want to use A disinfectant, common disinfectant, EPA, registered household disinfectant should be effective. So that's what you want to do. And you want to wipe clean. You want to make sure, especially those high touch areas. Because what you're doing is, and especially as a leader, because all of you, as you take this step to get your white belt and green belt, you're going to be in a leadership role. Some of you probably already are in leadership role. So leaders got to make sure this is taken care of. My son-in-law used to work at Amazon, and he talks back to some of the people he worked with, and he said they overkill this, and the leadership should overkill this, where the workers feel annoyed, but it puts it on your self-conscious because you care about them. Okay, sometimes it works because even when they leave the plant, they start thinking about that, and they create that moving bubble, you know, and that's what you want. You want to prevent the rapid spread of virus. You want to help it, make it easier to determine when there's defects and things are not clean. You want to make that so people can keep the area, work area clean, and it promotes good morale. Here's an example, and this is one of these examples of, you know, just keeping your car clean. You know, the one thing about washing your own car, you definitely will see the dents and the things that you didn't think was dent or chipped, or, you know, you'll see problems. And it's the same way at your workplace. If you're doing a machine, you're cleaning the machine, and it's your and your people that's working for you is cleaning their own machine. They're going to find some things, and that prevents bad quality later on. And here's an example of Shine showing inventory. In this particular one, they also showing the reorder points when they should order more product and more supplies. And once you get a good method and you're doing it the right way and the easiest way and the best way, you want to do it the same way. So you want to standardize it. Because once you standardize it, that's when you start getting it to the point where you can start getting that consistency. So standardization is very, very important. You got to standardize the shine, where things go. Standardization leads to standard work. And as standardization is the foundation of Lean Six Sigma. Okay. And it's the best practice. It's usually the simplest way. And here's the standard work cycle. Okay. If you have a work standard, you start here, and then you figure out a way to make it better. All right. And then you develop a new standard for that. And then you have your standard work. And then this cycle just keeps repeating itself. Okay. And later on, there's a graph to show you how that makes you better. Okay. And here's some of the benefits. Some of the benefits of standard work: it's improved operator safety. It increases your high quality. You got fewer errors, you know, less variation. That's critical. That's that Lean Six Sigma. That's that Six Sigma stuff. Okay, less variation. One of the guys, Dr. Edward Deming, he was really big on that. You know, he's the guy, if you never heard of Dr. Edward Deming, he went over to Japan and got turned around the Japanese automobile and the whole nation back in, you know, right after the war. And he's the guy to get credit. They have in Japan, I don't know if they still have it, but their Shingo Award was called the Dr. Deming Award. And that's what they had for a long time, because he was that guy. And he hated, he called variation was evil. So he's one of the ones that kind of started this trend. And then we moved to Six Sigma and took it to a higher level. So it helps all this. Standardization is very important. So here's some documents of what a standard look like. This is one of Johnson & Johnson's documents that you can get off the internet. This is a standard for a medical device, okay? So it gives you, just like, it's similar to when you get on the aircraft and they give you that safety pamphlet. That's how you want your standards to be, so easy, all right? And the best ones are video, okay? And here's an example of a video. You got the process, the steps, hand toss, you got a description of the safety points, and then you can actually run the video to see it, all right? That's what you want to do when you create the standard work. The videos are the best, highest level. So the benefits, you know, could save an employee lives and their family from catching COVID. Easy to train new workers once you have standards, good standards. Less room for error, I've mentioned that before, and scrap, make it more organized, safe. And sustaining, this is probably the hardest thing to do of all the 5S, is sustaining. You want to put together, it's like making your bed daily. You know, once you do it every day for a long time, it becomes a habit, right? And sustaining, you need slogans, posters, whatever it takes to keep it sustained, okay? Now, one of the key things you want to do is you want to make it part of your culture, make it your structure, make it part of who you are as a company, all right? Do it daily. And you want to audit it. You want to put, here's an audit template example. You want to audit whatever type of procedure you came up with for what's considered your CDC 5S. You want to audit it. You want your team, first the team to audit, and then supervision should audit it. All right. And typically looks like this. And I know this is a hard side, but the results is, it's like this. And you put this part of your KPIs, your key performance indicators. You know, you got a score of 4A, so we got some improvement, a lot of improvement to do here. All right. And you do it on each shift. That's how you get the consistency. Sustaining, the 5S is the hardest one. It is the hardest one. And especially when people want to gravitate back if you didn't have it in your system. But once you get it established, you've done it for a few years, then when new people come in, they'll just do the same thing because, you know, that's part of your culture. So shadow boardings are always good. Stick to it. Management must recognize people when they do. Stick to it. It's very important to, you know, recognize them and reward them some type of fashion. Here's another before and after, showing you before 5S, after 5S. And here's a step-by-step, another almost simulation. If you've never done it before, the first step you need to do is sort. And then that's what the picture looked like. And then the next step would be set in order. See how they got lines on the floor? Okay, and everything in its place, WIP identified. Then you start standardizing it. Okay, putting charts up, you know, having it done a certain way and everybody doing it the same way. Then you sustain it. So you got huddle areas where you can talk about the improvements. You can put the scores up and all that good stuff. And then CDC 5S should be done in the office too. In conference rooms, you should have social distancing. You should have social distancing areas and where office areas are marked off. Okay, social distancing signs. And, you know, those people like buyers and sellers and marketing people that don't necessarily have to be in the, let them work from home. If you have the right alignment far as what their duties are, you don't even have to worry about it. You know, like we were talking about, your key performance indicators should be in line such a way that, you know, their performance should be directly related to voice of the customer and impacting the customer. Like that great marketing question, you know, if we're marketing, and I myself is going through that. If I'm doing something that's not necessary, I need to be tracking it so I can reduce it. A great question. And then the CDC 5S visual office for, you know, with individual nameplates, pictures, in and out, status, who's there to communicate. Meeting rooms need to be marked off where you should sit, right? And social distancing. Cafeteria should be marked off. Where the actual seating areas are, where even the cash register, just like you see in the store. So, you know, your CDC 5S should be practiced in the office, in the plant, and the benefit is to prevent the spread, number one, improve safety and ergonomics, support the health of your workforce. I mean, that's enough to be said. There's other things that benefit from it, but those top three right there is your people. So we got another exercise, okay? I'm gonna give you a minute again. Think about your current workplace or your past workplace. Is the company applying CDC 5S? Do the workers have CDC 5S daily audits? Do you think CDC 5S can help your workplace? So those three questions, I'm gonna give you a minute. Okay, would somebody like to unmute their line and share their answer with the group? Or you can chat it to Danielle.
I can share. And the first question is, recommending applying CDC 5S. My answer is yes. An example of that is we have a schedule every 70 hours.
Hi, Carolyn, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you get closer to your mic?
I have to. Can you hear me okay now?
It's a little better, yes.
Okay, I had earbuds in, sorry. Anyway, so we are on a scheduled clean, disinfecting every 7 hours for our, I say public areas that are commonly used areas. I work in a laboratory, so outside of the laboratory, because already the laboratory is very regulated and everybody's wearing PPE inside. But when you go outside the lab, to the break room, down the manager's hall.
Excuse me, Carolyn, I'm gonna have to interrupt you again. For some reason, I don't know if I'm the only one, but yours, for some reason, your mic is not coming clear. Danielle, are you hearing the same thing I'm hearing?
Yes, sorry about that. Carolyn, your line is breaking up, so we're getting like every other word.
Okay.
Carolyn's gonna type her message.
Okay.
She's working on that now.
And Carolyn, thanks for participating. I'm gonna be patient with you because that's what we need. If it sounds like you got something good.
I do have one, let me see here. This is from One World Singer. She said that they've implemented most of it, but no audits yet.
Okay. All right. So my question is, that's good. I mean, this is something that you can take back and you might be able to, if you're having problems and it's not consistent, then that might be a tool that you might want to do. If it's going great and you don't have to audit it, then that's okay too. But mostly I've seen is when there's audits, it works better. The main thing is if it's working.
Okay, I have Carolyn's message here. Her answer is yes to the first question. Her company is applying the CDC 5S. An example is they have a scheduled cleaning every so many hours in frequently touched areas.
Great.
And they also have visual management to help maintain the 6-foot distancing.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Carolyn. That's excellent. Great, great, great. Good input. I appreciate it. Okay, now I want to take you through these principles of flow to support your operational excellence, okay? Now, the first one is what flow means from a process and a product and service is the shortest path possible to add all the necessary value to a product, service, or information without interruption and defects for an on-time delivery to the customer. One of the first and the pioneer was Henry Ford. When he came up with the assembly process, prior to that, cars was made in one spot, and everybody did it that way. When he came up with the assembly process, he revolutionized the whole industry. So here are some of the steps that you want to take in getting to flow, getting your process to flow, okay? First, you want to make sure you have a simplified and optimized way to get to the shortest possible cycle time. Then you want to establish a one-piece flow for your product or service or information. And then you want to ultimately reach continuous flow. Sometimes you can't get there, but you want to work towards it.
RC, I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Just to go back, can you give an example of an audit? Would this be a written form?
Yes, for the CDC?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. It would look something like this. Okay. And I know this is an eye chart, but what you want to do is you put the description of whatever you're looking for. Like say for instance, you had if I was wanting to clean off a desk and it was supposed to be clean and wiped down every day. What I would do is sometimes you're not going to be able to tell if it's wiped down, but you'll know if it's clean if you know that nothing's supposed to be on the desk. And if you're just supposed to have a computer and the computer, then that's what you need to write in that audit description. Okay. And like this one, I don't know if you can see it, it says it's an area free of unnecessary materials and supplies. All right, so you just mark down all the different things you're looking for. All right, and I'm going to give you a copy of this in a PDF form. You will get a copy of this in PDF form. And we are recording this, so you can check out the recording too, if you want to look at this, okay? All right, did that answer your question, Danielle?
Let me double check.
And
yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you can look through this, and everybody's going to be specific to their environment. But that was a good question. Thank you. I don't mind stopping and going back. I really want you guys, everybody on the phone to learn this, because I tell you, it's beneficial. It's good stuff. So back to the flow. Here's the hierarchy. First, you have push flow, and I'm going to explain what push is. Usually, that's done in a batch situation, mass production, MRP scheduling, and I'm going to show you the difference in how you can schedule where it's a push and schedule with a pull. Pull is the next level. That's when you have a pull production. I'm going to explain what that is. That's the next level of hierarchy. And then the top is one-piece flow and continuous flow. And you'll see continuous flow normally in chemical plants. One-piece flow done a lot in automotive, consumer, etc. And lean layouts are, require continuous flow and one-piece flow. They're usually straight line or cellular manufacturing. So here is another exercise. Now this is, and some of you, I don't know if you've ever been in a small job shop, okay? So I just want to show you the difference between batch and one-piece flow using this small job shop. In this job shop, we have milling machines. So these are machines that's manual mill, and they together in the mill department. Then we have drill presses. They got 2 of them. They're in the drill press department. And they have grinders. And this is typical. And say this is the steel box shop, okay? And this is what they make. Now this is their flow. First they start over here and then mill it, the product, and then they drill it, then they grind it for final shape. Pretty good flow, looks nice, okay? And here's their competitor. They got a lean cell. And their process, this process over here in job shop is laid out according to the machines. This process is laid out according to the process, okay? So it flows easily for the product, okay? So this product flows. This product flows, okay? So it's more of a U shape. So you look at it and say, which is faster? If I run this one, the job shot has a lot of 6, okay? I'm gonna do 6 at a time. If I just do one-piece flow on this one, which one is gonna be faster? I can't do one-piece flow on this one. It'll take long because you got to walk over here 6 times. So we're doing 6 in the job shop, and we're gonna do one-piece flow here. So if you look at this, and I'm not gonna ask you to, I just want you to think about it, this question. Just think about it. And then I'm gonna get you a simulation, all right? So we're gonna use this simulation, and we got a balanced line, all right? So we wanna see the difference between a batch production with a lot of 6, all right, and one-piece flow. So the first simulation is gonna be for the 6 units. And we got a clock up here. So the cycle time is 1 second. At each operation is balanced again. Press operation, assembly, and pack operation. So we're gonna start with one product in the press. That's at time 0. So we're gonna click 1 second, and we finished one part. And we got another part in the press. 2 seconds, our second part's out. 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, we got 6 products going through the press operation. Now we have 1 second to move in new raw material, and new product goes to the assembly. So the assembly can go 8 seconds. So at 9 seconds, we got our one part out assembly. So we click through. And at 14 seconds, we got product 6 of them through assembly. So we're gonna move it over 1 second. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna click and look. At the end of 22 seconds, we got through the pipeline. Our lead time is 22 seconds. We got 6 finished goods. All right. So lead time 22 seconds. And WIP, we got 12. Work in process. And we got 6 finished goods. So let's look at one-piece flow and see what happens. We're going to start with 1 in the press, just like we started with the other one at 0. And we got 1 minute cycle, so it's balanced. We got the same operations, press, assembly, and pack. And then we're gonna walk through it. First second, at 1 second, we got 1 of them coming out. Then 2, we got 1 already in assembly. 3, 4, 5, and we got 1 on finished goods. So we 1 second to move more product in. We go back and we run it. And in 10 seconds, we have 6 finished goods. So our lead time is 10 seconds. Work in process, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we got 6 finished goods. So if we compare push or the batch production versus the one-piece flow, lead time is 45% better, and WIP is 50% better. So what that means is just lowering your inventory, you can actually move product to your plant faster. So let's look at steady state. So let's just run these at 24, 25, we're just gonna run it. And at steady state, what we end up is having a rate of 45 units per minute, which is 2,700 units per hour. For a daily, that's 21,600 units a day, and we still have 12 in WIP, okay, at the end of the day. So let's see steady state for one-piece flow. Steady state is a rate of 51 units per minute, which is equal to 3,060 units per hour. That's 24,480 units a day. And the comparison is you can increase your capacity just by lowering your lot size. So the 21,600 versus the 24,480 is a 13% improvement in capacity. And then your WIP, you have lower WIP too. That's parts in work in process. So that's one advantage, is throughput. Now let's look at batch versus one-piece flow from a quality standpoint. Now this time, we're gonna look at both of them simultaneously. And our press operation, it has a worn die. So this worn die is gonna start creeping in defects, okay? So we're gonna start at time 0. At 1 second, we move products in all workstations so we can start, okay? So it's like most races, everybody start off at the same spot, okay? So in 2 seconds, we got 1 in the press, all right? 1 in assembly and 1 in pack in both productions. So at 3 seconds, excuse me, we have 1 product out of the press from the worn die is bad. 1 product of the worn die is bad in the one-piece flow. All right, so that's consistent. We got 1 finished good in both. So now we got 2 parts out. Now the difference is in one-piece flow, the assembly operator noticed that the part is bad. So now the assembly operator is trying to figure out how can we make this right, okay? So up here at 5 seconds, we are still producing parts, all right? Still producing parts. Down here, we done figured out that we need to repair the die, and it takes 2 seconds. We both have 3 products in finished good, okay? We got 3 products that's rejected here. We got 2 down here. So on the batch production, we just still, because the operator don't know that the parts are bad yet. So he's just still making them. Down here, we're fixing the one-piece flow, we're actually fixing the die. So here, we fix the die, we start putting parts back into the system because we reworked them. So we don't have no more reject parts. We didn't put them in the system. We got parts coming into the press because we fixed the die. Up here, we're just now finding out that we got bad parts. That's the difference between batching and lowering your inventory and going with one-piece flow. So you go through and we see that, okay, he's got 6. He's identified it. He's finally said these are reject parts, and that's the difference in the 2. Let's go back to that right quick, sorry. Sorry about that, I hit the wrong button. Danielle, can you still see the screen?
Yes, it's just not in presentation.
Okay.
Presentation mode.
All right, thank you. Is that
There we
better?
go. Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Danielle. Let's go back. Okay. Now, any questions on one-piece flow as far as quality and okay. Now we're going to talk about push versus pull, but we're going to start with push first. What a push system is when primarily it's used with MRP, which is Material Requirement Planning System, and Enterprise Resource Planning System, ERP. And what happens is you end up scheduling all your individual operations, which create a push and larger inventory. And I'm going to give you an example of that on the next slide. So the next slide, this is an example, okay? Here's your MRP system or your enterprise resource system, either one of those. What they'll do is they'll get a customer demand, all right? Then that customer demand is put in the MRP system, and then the MRP schedules each machine. Now, I'm gonna use the job shop for the sake because it shows it better, okay, than one-piece flow. So what happens is you schedule each machine with a demand, all right? So in this case, the grinder right here has a longer run time than the drill, and the drill feeds the grinder, all right? And this is just an example. So when the drill is done, it pushes parts to the grinder, and that's a push system, all right? And that's how you build up inventory, all right? Now, let's look at a pull system. What a pull system is when the downstream operation determines when the previous operation should run parts, okay? So the downstream operation, actually what it does is pull parts to itself. It's the opposite of the traditional push. Now let's take a look at that. We have the same customer demand. We're going to use the same job shop. We got a scheduler, okay? But it's going to schedule just the grinders, all right? So the grinder is going to tell the drill press when to bring parts. So the grinder has the longest cycle time again. So when it's done, all right, parts don't move until all their parts are done. And then the grinder will go pull them. So the drill press will not operate until their bin is 0. And that's how it's done. That's the difference, okay? That's the difference in the two systems. Now, any questions? Pull is always better, because what happens is in a pull system, you don't build up unnecessary, or say for instance, there's quality problems in that batch that we seen earlier. Let's go back to the previous. See if I can backspace. This system here, right? Say if this batch have quality problems, 25, some of them in there, and he's working on this 28, he won't find out until later, like we showed in that other. That's why those also hurt your quality. Okay? Now, principles. Pull system is better because it's a replenishment system. And pull system goes generally with just-in-time production, always, not generally, always. And it's also supported by Kanbans. We haven't talked about that, but Kanbans is spelled Kanban, but the Japanese pronunciation is Kanban. And it's all it is a signal. It's a signal to send back, like I was telling you in that drill press operation, the grinder, the person in the grinder would send back a card, and that would be the Kanban, that card to move product forward. So it's a heart of the pull system. It's a way to trigger it. It's almost like a traffic light. Go, now go, same thing. So Kaizen improvements, when you hear the word Kaizen, all it means is continuous improvement. And here's the official definition, incremental improvements. And that's what you want. When I was down in Toyota in Georgetown, Kentucky, which is south of here, they had over 24,000 suggestions a year. And that was in 2014 and 2007. And so they had a lot of incremental improvements. So that's what you want. And today you want to do that safely. So you still want to have Kaizen and continuous improvement workshops, but you want to do them spread out as it shows here. And you use these in series, okay? Because sometimes your projects and your improvements, and you should have daily huddles. They're similar to Kaizens, okay? Daily huddles are similar, usually cross-functional teams. Same thing, just different words, all right? And sometimes you got just-in-time improvements that's done, come out of these Kaizen workshops. And sometimes you have big projects that you have to have Kaizens. When I worked for Johnson & Johnson, we used to have, when we went to suppliers, that's what we called them. We're gonna have a Kaizen workshop or a continuous improvement workshop. And we would go overseas and we'd tell them, you know, send us data so we can do pre-work. And then when we get there, we would know what we were looking for, okay? So when you have those, this is what it should look like, okay? Say you don't practice lean, you're in the traditional. So once you get your current state and you start then standardize it. And then once you standardize it and you start making improvements, and this is the same thing with your 5S. And all of it ties in the same. Some companies going to call it continuous improvement. Some companies going to call it Kaizen. Some call it both. It's all good. Don't care what you call it. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, making the improvement, standardize it, making the improvement, standardize it, and getting to a higher level. That's when those athletes, I relate everything to athletics because at one time I was an athlete, but I wasn't good enough to go pro, but I had fun. But the thing of it is it's just like those professional athletes always talk about improvement. You see those great athletes, you know, and whatever, and you say, man, you are great. And they said, I always got room for improvement because they're looking at this. They're looking at this for themselves. And world-class athletes do it all the time. Those ones that go to the Olympics, this is their curve. So remember, sustaining is the hardest. But once you get there and you put a control phase in and you monitor it, and that's the reason for the auditing. Someone asked a question about auditing. Yes, I would encourage that because it's just a phase that makes sure and ensure. So Danielle, I want to thank everybody for the time, but I'm going to let Danielle take it from here and tell you about the certification that you can take.
Thanks, RC. So I just want to let everyone know you will be receiving 2 emails immediately following this webinar. The first will be a link to the certification exam. You may take the exam anytime you choose, as many times as needed to pass with a 75% or higher score. Now, when you pass the exam, you can select a PDF downloadable certificate, or you may also order online your very own personalized frame certificate, and that's for $39.99. Now, the second link you will receive is just going to be a brief evaluation survey. We do welcome and value all feedback, so please take a few minutes to complete the survey. This just helps us to ensure we're delivering high quality knowledge and services. Now, this slide here is just a snapshot of the Lean Six Sigma certification path. This data is from Indeed, and you can see that each level can help you transform your earning potential. For those who are interested in becoming a black belt, this is the path that you will need to take.
Yeah, Danielle, I just want to add, I can personally tell you it does make a difference. And if your salary is higher than this, it'll help you even get higher. So I'm just telling you from personal experience.
Now we have upcoming at the first quarter of 2021, we do have more virtual workshops available. We will have the Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt course. That's going to be a 2-day course in the evening in January. And then we have our Lean Six Sigma Green Belt course. That will be upcoming February of 2021. And that will be an 8-day course, 2 hours per day. And then there's also a Green Belt project that is 2 hours of free consultation. And the Lean Six Sigma Black Belt course will be coming March 2021. Now the dates have not been released yet. We will be releasing those in December. So please be on the lookout for those to come to your email. And also make sure that you share this information with your fellow colleagues, team members, and associates.
And Danielle, I want to add something again. The 4-hour free consultation for Black Belt and the 2-hour free consultation for Green Belt, to my knowledge, no one else offers that. And the reason why we are offering that is because we really want you to practice it. And we really want you to win. So we're gonna offer that to help you, because the projects and applying it is really where the rubber meets the road. So with that, part of Caldwell's and Associates, if you need to get in touch with us, our website is there. We will email you a copy of the slides. You can contact myself, RC Caldwell, or Andrew Lux. Our numbers there, Andrew's is 330-298-1041. His email is shown also. My number is 937-367-6743. Don't hesitate to call either one of us. We would love to talk to you. We enjoy this. So feel free to ask questions, and good luck to you, and stay safe and have a happy Halloween weekend, everyone. So take care and goodbye, and thank you.